Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. r/ask Reddit by Planet Reddit. What's the fastest you've seen a crowd go from excited to horrified? The entire Aberhindemble students from the elementary school where teacher/astronaut Krista McAuliffe taught at, who were broadcast live to the world, as they watched the Space Shuttle challenge explode seconds after takeoff, killing all hands on board, including their teacher. Oh yeah, we had an all-school Aberhindemble to watch it, on a tiny TV up on the auditorium stage of course. I was in 3rd grade. We barely understood what was going on. The most unnerving thing was watching our teachers weeping quietly and trying to look strong for us. I was also in 3rd grade but on West Coast, so I woke up to my mom crying in front of the TV. The science teacher took us out to watch it from the playground. We were only 50 miles away and could see it clearly. Then the yucking thing blew up. The climax of the last Twilight movie is a fight scene that goes on for 10 minutes. Vampires are ripping each other's heads off. Giant wolves are throwing them around like chew toys. And one by one each of Bella's friends and family die around her. You can actually hear people in the audience react as each named character dies. And none of this happened in the book, which was criticized for its lack of climax. As each minute goes on, it feels like they improved the film's story to give it a real sense of danger and excitement and payoff to the series. So shit's intense. And right as they kill the big bad evil guy, the camera fades to black, pulls out, and reveals that all of it was a vision. The last 10 minutes didn't happen. It was someone seeing a future that might happen. No one died, just a bunch of vampires and wolves standing around staring at each other in silence. Then they all walk away, alive and well. The crowd groans. A girl up front shouts, "Are you shitting me?" Everyone sits back in their seat. No one cares about what's happening on screen anymore. Some people are laughing because someone hit the undo button on the most exciting 10 minutes of the movie. Never have I seen a theater turn on a film so quickly and so hard. I was at one of the midnight premieres for this one, and saw the same thing. Several different people yelled what the yuck when it showed it was all just a vision, and you could feel the disappointment in the crowd. Bit of a long shot here, but any chance 2020 is just one of these visions? If it was, I'm not sure if I'd be celebrating or pissed off. Gotta be a vision. Just need to work out who the person having it is. Edit. After careful deliberation, I have conceded that we are taking part in a real-life, real-time series of Black Mirror, just as the conspiracy theorists suggest. But the writers can't figure out how to tie up all the plot holes and keep writing stuff to explain the other stuff, which has caused a backfiring reality loop. Either that or somebody's been doing all the drugs. There was a guy performing risky stunt dives in a river for money. He pulled off great stuff and people were clapping and clearly hyped. One of the tricks went really bad and he crashed headfirst into a rock from a decent height and killed himself. I always remember what Penn Jillette said at the end of his nail gun routine. It was like, we find it morally wrong to put someone in real danger for entertainment. And I have to agree. They think it's a mode to make the audience complicit in danger. Basically you're paying to see a magic show, not a medical emergency, so there shouldn't realistically be that possibility on the docket. Yes, and they managed to make it look dangerous in many of their acts. No need for real danger. A friend of mine decided it would be fun to try and see if he could smash a beer glass on his head. Up until then he was just being an enthusiastic drunk and had some positive attention. He then decided the beer glass thing was a good idea and promptly executed it. Head wounds bleed a lot in the first minute. Crowd went from "Oh you're cute" to "Foo, he's gonna die." I sobered up in an instant and got a semi-clean towel for him to stop the bleeding. Thankfully head wounds also stopped bleeding pretty quick in most instances. Drunk ideas are almost never good ideas. Especially the morning after when you wake up next to a bad idea. WWE's Over the Edge 1999. Owen Hart fell 70 feet to his death during the event, and the company inexplicably continued on with the show after he'd been taken to a hospital. That's kind of act up. Oh, he forgot to mention that during the countdown to return to the televised show, someone just nonchalantly tells Jim Ross that didn't know that Owen had died, that he now has to announce the death of Owen Hart to the viewers. Yeah, he was told he had the duty of letting everyone know. Literally I think it was 10 seconds after he was told about it himself. Junior is a true professional. R.I.P. Owen Hart, one of the greats. I saw this on YouTube somewhere. A bodybuilder was strutting his stuff in front of a crowd, warming them up and everything at an event. They absolutely love it. Many people had attended just to see him. He was at his peak. Huge muscles and sculpted physique. Absolutely amazing. I don't personally like the bodybuilding look, but you've got to respect hard work. The crowd was cheering him and he got so pumped up, so full of energy and emotion that instead of just walking onto the stage, he did an impromptu jump flip. He launched himself high into the air and did this impressive flip. The crowd went berserk, but he was a bodybuilder, not a gymnast. He landed on his neck and died instantly, crumpling on the spot. It is one of the most horrific, sudden and unexpected things I've ever seen. Maybe the worst part was not all of the crowd realized immediately. They kept smiling and cheering for their hero for another minute before it sank in that they had just witnessed him die right in front of them and they were clapping for a dead man. Edit. His name was Sifiso Lungelo Thabit, only 23 years old, from South Africa. He was a junior world champion in his weight category. For those who are asking, a few people in the comments have posted the link. It's here. I very much do not recommend watching. It's tragic and horrible. Obviously NSFW NSFL for death. Holy shit, that's horrific. God, I'm sorry for laughing. This comment is Reddit in a nutshell. It's awful. He whispered. It's tragic. He sighed. It's totally dreadful. The way that he died. He stared with distress and a shake of his head. However, I do want to see it, he said. 7-8 years ago during a concert there was an earthquake. Not too huge, but enough for some speakers to fall and to scare the shit out of those attending. At a music festival, Bluesfest, in my city Ottawa, we had a stage collapse in a windstorm a few years back. Edit. It was actually 9 years ago. The band playing at the time was Cheap Trick, and they sued the festival and the stage company. Edited. Some details. An American comedian in the Republic of Ireland saying how happy he was to be in the United Kingdom. Similarly, a Canadian band hollering "We love England" at the beginning of their set in Glasgow. Yikes. Monday Night Football, November 18th, 1985. Washington Redskins vs. the New York Giants. I was pretty young at the time, so being allowed to stay up late on a weekday was a rare occasion. During one of the plays, Joe Theismann was sacked by Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson of the Giants. The entire stadium went silent as Theismann would end up suffering a compound fracture of the tibia and fibula. What I remember most vividly is that the broadcast kept replaying it over and over again and seeing shin snap at a 90-degree angle. It made me physically nauseous and had to walk out of the room. If I recall correctly, following the injury, broadcasting policies were changed so that constant replays like this would not be shown in the future. Edit. Surprised to see how memorable this was for others as well. As a budding Redskins fan at the time, I gained a huge amount of respect for Lawrence Taylor that day. I understand that injuries are a part of all sports. It's a level of risk that many are willing to take. It was the need to keep replaying it over and over again from every imaginable angle that made the impression. Thank you all for sharing your similar experiences. Seeing Alex Smith's leg injury live was just as bad. I literally screamed in horror when that happened. Proof we live in the Matrix. Joe Theismann broke his right tibia and fibula on November 18, 1985 in a game in Washington that ended 23-21. The only 3-time Defensive Player of the Year Lawrence Taylor was involved in the injury, which occurred around the 40-yard line. Theismann's Pro Bowl left tackle, Joe Jacoby, wasn't on the field due to injury. Alex Smith broke his right tibia and fibula on November 18, 2018 in a game in Washington that ended 23-21. The only other 3-time Defensive Player of the Year JJ Watt was involved in the injury, which occurred around the 40-yard line. Smith's Pro Bowl left tackle, Trent Williams, wasn't on the field due to injury. I'm not fact checking any of this BC. I love eerie coincidences and want it to be true. Excellent clear writing BTW. I was at some weird zoo animal preserve north of Phoenix in 2012, and there was a tigress in chain-linked compound. This little girl went up to her and blew her a kiss. The tigress looked at her and licked her own. not the little girl's whiskers, and the crowd went awe. The tigress shifted a little bit and pissed all over the little girl. The crowd was shocked and horrified, but I laughed my behind off. While I was reading this, I was so scared it was gonna say she was mauled by the tiger. I had the opposite happen at my local zoo last summer. It's a small zoo and they really are more about education and conservation than anything else. The animals have large enclosures and lots of places to hide, so sometimes you just can't see them. The female tiger was sunning herself on some rocks, but the male tiger was right at the fence pacing back and forth and seemed to be snarling. A group gathered. It really is a small zoo, so maybe 15 to 20 people, and we were all expressing concern for the tiger. Eventually a zookeeper noticed the group and came over. She actually laughed when she realized what we were concerned about. Apparently the tiger just does that sometimes. It was trying to impress the crowd and seemed like a badass. In reality, the female was the boss, so the male was trying to appear tough while the female was busy. The zookeeper jumped the little barrier to prevent people getting close to the fence. She put her hand to the fence and baby talked a little, and the tiger immediately turned into a little kitten, rubbing the fence, rolling onto his belly hoping for pets, chittering happily. It was very cute. I had the opposite happen at my local zoo last summer. I was expecting story about a little girl peeing on a tigress. During a Buffalo Sabres game, Clint Malarkuk took an ice skate to the neck, severing his carotid artery and partially cutting his jugular vein. He almost bled out on the ice. The sight was so horrifying 2 fans had heart attacks and 11 others fainted. Numerous fans vomited at the sight of all the blood. Malarkuk thought he was going to die on the ice, so his only thought was getting off the ice so his mom didn't have to watch him die on TV. He asked for a priest and had the equipment manager call his mom to tell her he loved her. The only reason he didn't die is the Sabres athletic trainer was a combat medic in Vietnam. My parents were at the game and said that most of the fans behoomed the worst and that seeing the ice turn red was one of the more horrifying things they'd seen in person. I highly recommend reading his Players Tribune article that recounts the entire experience and life afterwards. I've seen the video and it's so horrific. I don't know how he survived. I wonder how quickly they stabilized him and how. There was so much blood so quickly, I just can't understand how he lived. I'm obviously not a doctor, but holy hell, that's one lucky man. Incredibly lucky guy. He later survived a gunshot to the head in a failed attempt. It's talked about more in the article. Another comment reply to mine posted. As far as surviving the injury, Malarkuk's life was saved due to quick action by the Sabres athletic trainer, Jim Pizzatelli, a former US Army combat medic who served in the Vietnam War. He gripped Malarkuk's neck and pinched off the blood vessel, not letting go until doctors arrived to begin stabilizing the wound. He led Malarkuk off the ice, then applied extreme pressure by kneeling on his collarbone, a procedure designed to produce a low breathing rate and low metabolic state, which is preferable to exsanguination. Malarkuk was conscious and talking on the way to the hospital, and jokingly asked paramedics if they could bring him back in time for the third period. 1. The game resumed when league personnel received word that Malarkuk was in stable condition. 8. Malarkuk lost 1.5 liters of blood. 9. It took doctors a total of 300 stitches to close the 6-inch wound. He was back on the ice in 10 days. I don't know if this counts, but I'm a huge fan of 90s rock, Korn, Slipknot, Seether, Mushroom Head, etc. Anyways, I've always wanted to see Marilyn Manson in concert and he was opening for I think one of the mentioned bands above a few years back. Anyways, he comes on and just looked horrible. Kind of slurring, but whatever, I get it. So like 4 songs and he starts singing Beautiful People and mostly everyone seemed into it. Well, maybe BC it's TX and it was an outdoor venue over 100 degrees, but he just goes, "Suck it, you all suck," and walks off stage. Took a few seconds to register with everyone he wasn't joking and every starts booing and cussing. I was legit excited and it just turned to garbage so quick. Edit. Thanks for the guild. Funny enough, I had a similar experience with Manson at a festival. He slurred his way through about 2 songs, while falling all over the stage, before he just wandered off and never came back. As it was a festival, we had another act to go, so people weren't too upset, but it was very strange. Surely there are legal repercussions for doing this sort of BS? It's Manson. You're lucky if you get a full set out of him at all. Join our community Discord, link in description. We were all 17-18 on a school trip. Typical week away doing rock climbing, archery, camping, etc. At the end of the trip we gathered in a big hall for one final gathering, and then out of the blue there was a demonstration on how to effectively kill a chicken. Using a live chicken that was killed in front of us all for some reason. No warning. So it was a fun week at the KFC training camp, which ended in a game of chicken. Your school took you rock climbing and camping for a week? Where you from? Somewhere wealthier than I'm from, that's for sure. Several years back and my band opens up for a hardcore punk outfit from Illinois at an all-ages venue where they have a sci-fi theme to their show. The singer dresses up as a mad scientist and the other 3 members dress up as his evil robots. They also have old television sets plugged in around the stage playing 1950s B horror movies while they play. No one, including the people running the venue, have ever seen these guys play before, but going off of the theme we are expecting something awesome. That is until I'm backstage putting my equipment away and notice them all pounding back shots of tequila. When it's their turn to play they're so hammered they can't even make it through one verse of a song. The singer ended up drop kicking one of the TVS into the crowd of about 200 people, which caught fire. This caused the sound guy to end their set right there and they were banned from the venue for life. I've never seen a crowd go from happy to oh shit so fast. One of my buddies saw the Stooges in the 1970s. The band started the show playing raw power with no vocals for about 10 straight minutes. Then Iggy finally stumbled out. He made it through about 3 songs before he just fell the yuck over. And that was it. The show was done. That would be 73. Really close to them breaking up. The podcast No Dogs in Space did a fantastic series on the Stooges. Diablo Immortal announcement. I mean, don't you guys own phones? Here is the video if anyone wants to see, youtube.com link. Same happened in the Mythic Hall. As soon as Chang opened and used the word mobile the whole crowd let out an audible groan. Link, clips Twitch TV link. I still can't understand how a company like Blizzard screwed up so majorly. Those people definitely got sacked after this. Edit. By screw up I meant how Blizzard unveiled and presented the game at BlizzCon. Not that the game itself was a failure. They should know their audience much better after all these years of catering to hardcore players. At my friend's wedding, the groom kicked the flower boy. He was no more than 10. So yeah. On purpose? Yes, it was terrible. I didn't exactly see it happen though. Just heard a collective gasp from the crowd and the boy on the ground. There was of moment silence and all hell broke loose. Didn't even get to finish me damn plate. That's so sad. What were they serving? Last week at a BLM protest they were letting anyone come up and speak through a megaphone. This man got up and started talking about his newborn son and how he wanted to make sure we have a better world for him. He then started talking about love and unity and the guy essentially had the crowd eating out of the palm of his hand. Then he brought up Bill Cosby and how he was arrested on allegations and the crowd turned instantly. I remember watching a Twitter video Snoop Dogg posted where he defended Bill Cosby's innocence and talked it up as some type of racist conspiracy. I've sorta soured on the guy since then. Didn't help that he also referred to Gayle King as a doghead BCH in the same video. I, along with an entire beachfront of about 80 plus people, watched a boat back up and chop a lady up into pieces. It was bad. What the yuck? It's not terribly infrequent. A woman nearly lost both arms to a boating accident when she jumped off the back while the driver was still reversing. I do not swim near running boats ever for this reason. My brother's first girlfriend was decapitated this way. Her father was driving the boat. This is the most recent example that comes to mind. Oldreddit.com link. Oh god, I hadn't seen this. The immediate silence made me cringe my entire body into a singularity. I wanted to throw my phone away in an act of mental self-defense. Okay, I was kind of afraid to watch this video. It's actually really funny. For anyone who doesn't want to see or can't hear. Basically the guy screams about how everyone needs to practice love and how every individual religion is equal. People are cheering. Then suddenly he shouts NRS come in every color, and the audience just quiets down. He shouts it again to make sure they heard it. You hear some chick just go, what? LOL. Record scratch. Detroit Tigers almost perfect game. We all saw the play and the dude was out. We all start celebrating. Then we slowly realize the ump called him safe. Celebration quickly turned to the opposite. Technically not horrified, but still the fastest 180 I've seen or been a part of. Detroit sports and officials turning a moment of elation into a moment of sadness in an instant. Name a more iconic duo. I was at a 4th of July fireworks show in FT Walton, Destin, Florida. The show was being staged from the inlet from the Gulf of Mexico to the bay. People were watching it from the other side of the inlet, the Highway 98 bridge, and from their boats on the water. The first salvo launched, but one of the shells exploded either in the launch tube or just above and ignited the rest of the show on the ground. Some launched a little bit before exploding. What was supposed to be a 30-40 minute show lasted 1-2 minutes. As the first shells blew up, I could see the silhouette of the technicians as they ran. Like a stop motion movie. The technicians were cool as hell since none of them were looking back at the explosions. I never realized how big the bursts were until I saw them going off on the ground. Everybody was trying to get away. We were being hit by pieces of fireworks. They weren't just landing on everybody, they were hitting us. My dad started the boat, but realized we couldn't move. A lot of kids were watching the show while they floated in the water. We were yelling at the other boats to stop because of the kids in the water. Fortunately, enough people heard, listened, or realized what the problem now was that they stopped and locked everybody in place. Nobody was seriously hurt or killed, only a few techs were treated for minor burns. On that day, those techs outran Usain Bolt on the beach, wearing safety gear. The technicians were cool as hell since none of them were looking back at the explosions. I just about lost it here. You have a way with making a disaster story funny. I am a fireworks technician. If you see me running, try to keep up. I wasn't present, but the Sugarland stage collapse must have been up there. YouTube link. Sudden event accidents and attacks seem like a nightmare. Just a few to think of. The station fire at a Great White concert. 100 dead. La Bataclan attack at an Eagles of Death metal concert. 90 dead. Vegas shooting during Jason Aldean concert. 58 dead. Columbus nightclub shooting at a Dimageplan concert. 5 dead including Dinnerbag Darrell. 1955 Le Mans disaster. 84 dead. Ramstein air show. 70 dead. Really makes you realize how fragile life is. 1 second you're having fun, and before you can even process what's going on, you're dead. The Manchester Arena bombing during the Ariana Grande concert comes to mind as well, especially since the audience was so many young people. Imagine how many 12-year-olds saw others their age die. Imagine having to tell your kids what happened. Every time I think about it I get upset. Bud Dwyer's press conference that turned into a filmed. We had a local TV anchor in Florida named Christine Chubbuck say, in keeping with Channel 40's policy of bringing you the latest in blood and guts and in living color, you are going to see another first, an attempted, and shoot herself in the head. Circa 1974. The footage never got out so it's not well known. I saw the movie about her. Did viewers literally witness it live? Yep, but very few people had VCRs then, so it wasn't recorded outside of the studio. Edit. I put a link to the show on YouTube at the bottom if you want to watch, don't read the end. There was a Derren Brown show called Remote Control. It was all about the effects of mob mentality. The crowd had to decide whether something nice happened or something bad happened to the same person. Each time the thing would be better or worse than the last. Eventually it led to them deciding that he would be kidnapped. They were all watching live on hidden cameras in a studio, by the way. When the kidnapping was attempted it showed him evading them but running into the road and getting hit by a car. The whole crowd gasped and eventually people asked the filming to stop. The last part was just an actor/stuntman though. Edit. Found it on YouTube. Edit 2. Thanks to you/Slicker for the timestamp. Just to add, everyone in the crowd wore masks. And the idea is that when people are anonymous and concealed, they tend to make some like questionable decisions or follow the rest of the anonymous audience members in an example of mob mentality. The show itself fucking sucked though, mayo. They gave compensation to the poor bloke they were torturing after all that. Give a man a mask and he will show his true face. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for 3 videos a day.